What is going on, guys? It's Blink here, back with a new guide. This guide is another full gameplay guide, and I do plan on making these more often again. Also, the V-Bucks giveaway is still going on, so make sure to visit the link in the description to enter. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications as I post an Amazon gift card code in the comments every time I upload. By turning on notifications, you'll have a way better chance of getting here first and redeeming that code. Anyways, guys, let's get to this guide. So, we're heading to Paradise Palms, and I take the rift to see if I can get down quicker. Not sure if I was successful this time, but if you can time your umbrella opening, then I'm sure you'd be able to drop down much quicker. If I can figure out the timings on every mountain rift spot, I'll make sure to create a guide on it. I spot a player gathering materials, and I head towards him because I didn't expect him to have a gun. I did put a few rounds into him before he even noticed me, so I did have the upper hand in the end. Now, the big rock outside usually has a weapon on it, which is probably where he got his weapon from. I've currently got a pretty solid weapon setup. I've got a shotgun and an AR. Now, it is an auto shotty, so I don't need a combo with anything. Although, say I had a pump, I can combo the pump with the silenced SMG if needed. Right now, I'm trying to gather a good amount of materials before moving on. I don't have to focus on finding weapons because, as I said, I've got a pretty good weapon setup. So, to get ahead of everyone, gathering those materials early will allow you to use them more freely. And say you're inside a house, hit any sort of furniture as you loot, because an average house can usually get you over 150 wood, which is a solid amount to work with. So, we hear fighting up ahead and spot players around the porta-fort. Now, I actually spot an opponent's legs from underneath and tag him up a few times. Instantly push towards him because he's above both of us, so you don't want him to start pressuring you when he's got the high ground. Once he knows you're around, build up above him for the advantage angle. I ended up spotting another player from a distance and got a few hits on him. Anytime you've removed an opponent's shield, you'll usually want to push because no shields will potentially be an easy kill. Now, I do have 75 HP myself, so I have to be very careful. Although, I've got enough materials to build myself extra cover if needed. If you can't find any meds, materials will always be your next best friend. Use more than less anytime you've got low HP, because without shields, your HP can drastically go down. So, I destroyed this whole house with the C4, and I could have used them a little more spaced out, but it did the job. I was able to expose both players from hiding. Anytime you've got explosives, use them on a house if there's players inside. You never want to really push houses because there can be hidden traps, you can't really build, and your opponents can be hiding in any corner of the house. That's why I always try detonating your whole house. It opens it up a little more, that way you can build. I also want to mention that the second player I eliminated had absolutely no materials. It's been a few minutes into the game and you don't want to be that guy. He could have had the best weapons possible and I still would have managed to eliminate him with only a pistol as long as I've got materials. So, there was a player inside this garage and what me and my teammate ended up doing was peeking at almost the same time. Right when my teammate took shots, I pushed him from behind to catch this player off. Now, say I was playing solos, instead of pushing through the doorway, I could have broken the whole wall and replaced it with my own wall. I then could have edited a window or a bigger opening as I prepared to take shots. So, we basically cleared out the whole city except for these last two players. They were drifting around in the ATK and I instantly made sure to pressure them because I'm not sure how many rifts are over there. Had there only been one, we then would have had to travel a little farther to a couple more rifts, and those aren't guaranteed. So, I had to make sure they didn't take the rift. Pushed up on this player and I was wondering why he never built more cover. Well guys, he's got no materials. We were almost halfway through the game and he only had enough for 2 walls, which resulted in an easy kill. And yeah, you guys can see that TAC SMG. Today's patch notes announced that they did vault the TAC SMG. Was kind of surprised because it was a solid weapon to use. Even if it was a little strong, I don't get why they didn't just nerf it a little instead of vaulting it. I guess I'll never know. Maybe Epic are planning on making a replacement for it, or maybe the new SMG is a replacement for the TAC SMG. I haven't been able to use the new SMG yet, but I'll be sure to make a guide on it once I've figured it out. Now, there wasn't a rift in the city, and we had to take the ATK to the next closest rift spot. And you guys might be asking, well Blink, why don't you take the ATK to the circle? Well guys, because it's the death trap. Driving the ATK around is just asking to be killed. It's super easy to light targets up inside it. Now, had there not been a rift here, we then would have had to take the ATK. Basically, it's a second option for me. Now, what I usually do with the rifts is check retail row first. I'd usually use the one at Paradise Palms first, and if I don't spot any at retail, I'd go back to the second spot and take another rift, which is the rift I just took. It just allows me to reset my distance and travel a little farther towards the middle. Alright, so we do spot 2 players driving around ATKs, and I'll show you how easy it is to eliminate players driving them. As I landed, all I had to do was spray my weapon towards this player. Usually when you're shooting players driving ATKs, you're shooting them in the head because that's basically all you can see. And if you are driving the ATK, make sure you get out as soon as possible. Don't try running from your opponents because you won't get away. You want to get out as soon as you spot an opponent and build cover as soon as possible. The moment I landed in front of my opponent, he should have instantly got out and built. He tried driving away, which wasn't smart. Now, what was smart was the opponent my teammate was fighting. That player ended up jumping out to fight, although the fight didn't last too long because I hit my snipe. I also want to mention that my materials aren't the greatest and we're getting really close to endgame. So what I want to explain is that you want to have over 1,000 materials close to endgame because you have to expect the players you face will almost be maxed out. The reason for this is because the total gathered materials from all the eliminated players will obviously transfer over to the players currently in game. So, say you had a slow start, or just killed off a bunch of players with unlucky amounts of materials, then make sure you're gathering as you keep progressing forward. You never know what your next opponent's stack will be. He might give you a hard time, resulting in you burning all your materials pretty quickly. Having a lot will give you more time to try out different strategies when fighting that opponent that's giving you a hard time. So, make sure you're paying attention to your stack as the safe zone gets smaller. So, we spot a few players up ahead and they had no clue. My teammate was able to knock the first player and I was having a little bit of trouble with the second player. I was getting shot at from a pretty close range. I actually never noticed how close these players were until I watched the replay. So I did get the kill on the last opponent, although I've got a few more players to deal with. I ended up boxing myself in to try to attempt to use the chug jug, and surprisingly these players let me use it. Eliminated the first player and instantly went over to help my teammate. My teammate shot down the second player and he fell to his death. So I was pretty surprised these players allowed me to use the chug jug. Although my teammate did put the pressure towards them, so that did give me time to use it. What these players should have done would have been to push my teammate together or get one of the players to put some pressure on me. The player I downed sat back at a distance while his teammate pushed up. Had they both pushed my teammate, they might have had an easier time fighting him. I actually see this happen pretty often. One teammate pushes while the other one sits back and provides covering fire. Now, that's fine, but the better option would have been to push for that guaranteed 2v1 with close range weapons. They'd be able to deal more critical damage with better accuracy. A few more players showed up with an ATK. I used the bounce trap to get closer to this player the fastest way I can. Got in front of him and lasered him down. He ended up leaving the ATK too late and it seemed like he panicked at the end. Once again, the ATK never helped him out. Now, it's because he never played the situation properly. Once again, he was another opponent that tried running away from our shots, and when he realized it wasn't working, it was too late. So anytime you guys are driving that ATK, remember this guide. Make sure you guys are getting out sooner than later. My teammate got the second player, and once I was able to help him, I took shots as soon as I could. The moment I started to put damage onto his teammate, he now knows he's got to fight a 1v2, and that puts him in a less comfortable position. So anytime you've downed the first player, start taking shots at his teammate, because it'll let him know he's now fighting a 1v2, and depending on the type of player he is, he might get nervous. So we made it to the edge of the safe zone, and there was a team outside it. Try to apply pressure as the storm comes in. If the storm is closer in your situation, then your opponents will be forced to move as you take shots. Now, I took a few shots, and the moment this player fell down, I built up for that high ground. I was able to take a peek over top of his ramps and took shots because he still had his building materials out. Got a critical pump shot off and finished him off with the TAC SMG. And this is probably the last guide you'll be seeing that TAC SMG, which is unfortunate. Now, his teammate had to move because the storm was closing in. So I pre-lined up my crosshair and expected him to peek, which he did. I was able to analyze the situation and pulled up my sniper because I knew this player had to move. So try analyzing all your fights and see if there's any sort of hints that can help you out, like in my situation. We spotted the last few players up ahead fighting, and as I always say, every opening fight I try going for the snipe. I stayed patient, and the moment this player had an obvious movement, I took the shot. And if you guys are wondering what that movement was, it was him strafing to the right. By lining up your crosshair a little bit to the right of him, the shot will connect as long as he continues to strafe. We pushed his teammate to not allow the revive, and my teammate was able to get the kill. Now, the last player is just peeking his head over top of the building, which was a pretty easy shot for my teammate. Well guys, that's it for this guide. Hopefully I've helped some people out, and a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated as it does help me out a lot. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, and hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and I'll see you on the next one.